Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Once again, we are checking in with the fantabulous Miss Lisa Renee Durden.
If you're nasty. Well, I'm too old for you to be nasty. Don't be nasty because it ain't gonna go nowhere.
Ah,
You'll be disappointed.
yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm tired, girl. I'm tired. But it is what it is.
Yet with the heat, you have the hurricanes in Jersey.
Yeah.
You have,
Not too hot today, but still, yes.
okay, you still have Corona going on, people fighting left and right.
Drama.
You got all this stuff. Yeah. So
We're gonna get to it. Yeah,
yes.
a lot of stuff going on. Not just Jersey, but around the country, yes. But Jersey is affected as well. The eviction thing is not just here, but yes, in America.
Yes. Okay. So let's. Yeah. So before we get into that, let us first talk about some things that have been on our agenda for weeks and we haven't gotten to them because the conversation gets so juicy. The US Postal Service.
Oof.
And yes, and the elections, right? So the US Postal Service, people have been reporting for months now that they haven't been getting their mail or their mail has been slow. Even the fundraiser that we had for Ark Republic, the chef Cassandra had to remail, I want to say 10 pound cakes because they somehow got lost in the mail. I think somebody ate them, right? So this is a reflection of, while we were talking about defunding the police, they're defunding or not funding the US Postal Service, which causes concern with these coming elections because so many people are going to be relying on mail-in ballots.
Yeah, I think that there's a whole lot of drama going on everywhere, but I think that the president is really pinpointing areas where he's got a large amount of people and where he stands to lose. So I think he's trying to jack up the Postal Service everywhere, but particularly in some places like Nevada, because Nevada has a Democratic governor, and there's a lot of people there. But it's not just Nevada, but we're going to use it as an example. But he has a lot of people there. But he filed a lawsuit against them, and what I think he's doing is he's filing a lawsuit against them. He's doing a lot of stuff around the postal, the mail-in ballots, and trying to pass legislation and moratoriums to stop this and that. But in there particularly, he's trying to stop the mail-in ballots because he says that there's a lot of voter fraud. Now, voter fraud, is kind of like, in my view, a dog whistle. It's always been used, but as I'm going to say, I haven't heard a lot of it until the last 10 years or so, since Al Gore. I think when we started to really see races being stolen, Al Gore and what happened in Florida with Bush, and
right, the 2000 elections that you're talking
about. Around that time, we started to see our voters' rights be rolled back in sneaky ways. That's really suppression, right? IDs, and you're taking us off the voter list because we didn't vote in 10 years, and all kinds of stuff that they're doing. Now that they let men vote who were in jail, now they're saying, well, if you came out of jail and you have some people that get out of jail, you have still, I guess, fees or something because you're still on parole. They're saying you got to pay the fees. Like, I thought you weren't supposed to pay to vote, and they're trying to sneak it around in other ways. So he's doing all these tactics, and the most egregious one recently was the one in Nevada where he's suing Nevada to stop them from doing these mail-in ballots because it's a huge population there. And why he's focusing on one state? If you don't win Nevada, you're not going to win the presidency. Maybe it's a multitude of many big states, but I think that's to slow down the process and tie things up in the courts and all of that. But the Nevada governor's not having it. But I do think it's a huge distraction. I think it's very scary. These are the days of I don't even know what to call it. McCarthyism. I don't know what you want to call these days. But I fear that what he's doing in Nevada, he's going to try to roll out in different ways in other states and places where you have large, voter turnout, particularly now that we have COVID. You don't want to put your life on the line to vote and be on the line and have to catch COVID to vote. And because we still have, the COVID issue now in the United States. I don't know how it is in, Italy and other places around the world. There's still cases, but we're having still this groundswell and hot spots of COVID. So he's doing that there, trying to pass this narrative on that, people are trying to commit fraud to vote. First of all, there's been research that shows that there's such a tiny number of voter fraud, it's not even worth discussing. It's like 0.001%. I mean, the number's not even a number. It doesn't even exist in the world. It's so low. That's been research. It's also research that people don't even like to vote. Most people find it a chore to vote. So nobody's going to try to vote twice, particularly mail-in ballots. You got to fill out. You ever see a ballot? You got to fill out the ballot, the outside of the ballot, and sign who's delivering this. So even the ballot is daunting. So I don't want to fill out 2 of them shits. People ain't filling out 2 ballots. They're not going to the polls twice. People don't want to vote once. So like just with the culture of voting, that they made it so hard to do, not just now, it's just becoming harder, that people don't want to vote, particularly marginalized and underserved people. So, and then he talks about, people who are immigrants. First of all, a lot of immigrants scared to vote under his administration because they might have ICE there. So like all of those things are lies and dog whistles, because I think that he's afraid that he's going to lose the election. Be very afraid. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I also think that this is one of his tactics along the way to create these, what I will call crumbs of distraction of, these lawsuits really that are meaningless, that kind of keep this red tape going and this back and forth going, to also show as if maybe perhaps he still has some level of power. Another thing I was thinking about, like why Nevada? Nevada also has a large elderly population too. That's going to rely, on.
They like to gamble.
Yes.
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Right. So I'm like thinking, I said, well, is he targeting populations where there's a high senior citizen population that will definitely be doing mail-in ballots? So I'm kind of thinking of all these ways. But another thing in terms of the mail and US Postal Service, there's a new postmaster, Louis DeJoy, who is a mega donor of Trump. And so people fear that by him being in position, that he actually will implement things or stymie the process of mail even further for this, this voter repression that you're talking about.
Right. And then now I would love to know how that happened. How did you get to be the new Postmaster General over the whole Postal Service, the Post Office, the US Post Office?
With no experience in the post office.
Just let that sit right there. Y'all let that sit right there. So these are all tactics, like different, like juggling balls in the air. He's got all these balls in the air. And I think I heard some whisperings about a week ago. So he was trying to say that he wanted to move the election day because of coronavirus. You can't make that decision. That's against you don't even have the power to do that. He was talking about that, I think, a week or so ago. Like he's just throwing clamp against the wall and trying to make it work. I don't believe in a deity. So I can't say, well, God got this. So I can't say, I know to say that, but I would be being fake. I don't really believe in that. But I do believe in, if it's meant to be, it will be, for whatever reasons. We're doing everything we can down here on the ground not to let that happen. Because even LeBron James, did you hear about LeBron James? LeBron James made the decision, I think it's in Florida, I forgot where it is, or just around the country, I have to look it up. LeBron James, when he found out that the president made it so that, I think it's in Florida, where, where ex-cons who got let out of prison who now can vote in that state. Now the catch is, but you owe fees and you owe, fines and whatever else. LeBron James is paying all the fines to make sure you can vote. So people are doing what they can do to get this going. So if we have the counter to his idiocy, is that a word? Or his shenanigans, and he still wins, it was meant to be, meaning it was meant for him to steal it, or however he got it, it was meant to be. And so if that does happen, I don't want to see that happen because I'm poor, I'm a woman, and I'm Black. And I'm tall. That is a disability for a woman.
Don't tell a short person that.
Shut up. But I, again, would caution people, they're not gonna listen to my, around the way girl ass, but I would caution people to start to build more of you and get out that seat. You cause.
Right. And another thing I want to add to this postal office, it's connected in a way, is the census. How they changed first. They moved the census. The census was supposed to end in July, I want to say.
Right, because I did mine. They said the last day, and I'm like, they still doing the census? Because I was all scared. I did mine electronically.
Yeah, was it April? Okay, excuse me.
No, you're right. No, it was April. It was around April because it was not June.
April. Okay, and so then they extended it to October 31st, and now they
to do my census. I could have been waiting.
But now they moved it to September 30th. Right. So also there is this this strategy of derailing American progress for generations too, as well, because we, the census, how you report it, whomever reports, it affects money for the next 10 years. Correct. So, and I have to, Roland Martin gave a really great, he covered it, and he had some folk on talking about how a lot of advertisement dollars did not go to Black media to encourage people.
Oh yeah, I saw that he went in.
Oh, he went in. He went in, right? Which is actually, to me, an issue across the board. It's not just the census, but this is across the board, political parties and so on and so forth. So I also wanted to connect that and mention that if you have not filled out the census, it is imperative that you fill out the census. If only for the very reason, if you, a lot of people who were like searching for their ancestry found a lot of that information, even my family members, in the census. So be visible, right? Totally be visible and be present.
No, so fill it out, and I did it electronically. You can do it electronically, and it does matter. And like I said, like I said before, the importance of people in these places and spaces who look like you being there is because they can speak to their community. Because like I said before, I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say my first time ever filling out a census was in 2020. I'm 56. Because I too was raised by old Southern parents. My mother was particularly the one that raised the kids. My father worked. And she was always saying, don't be filling out that damn census because, they're doing it to hurt people. Because at the time that they did it, that was being used to weaponize against Black folks, to find them, arrest them, find ways to tax them and take their homes, and all these other things that the census was doing in its early phases of it being in existence. But I think it has since morphed into something related to the dollar. But I still didn't leave the culture. It took a long time. But what made me go and jump ship on the culture and decide to fill up the census was Stacey Abrams. She looks like me, and it wasn't just because she's Black, because I don't follow everybody Black, but I've been following her for a long time, and she's real solid and real strong, and I really have a trust for her. So I said, okay, girl, let me push this button. Boom, I was shaking. So I did it. So hopefully these black faces can get other Black faces and people of color, indigenous people, to fill out the census, because it's very imperative.
And here's a message to those who are the census gatherers, information gatherers in Newark, New Jersey. Don't call anybody's home cussing them out, because that's what they did to me. I got so
what?
In 2010, I mean, it was like people were coming to the door, I'm saying, wanting blows up in there. Yeah. So anyway, understand that people are in a lot of.
I was afraid you would look outside my window.
Yes. They were two elderly women, so I didn't want to do that. So
I feel about that. Respect, or put some respect on it, or you're gonna get treated like you're 12.
Yeah.
I will with elderly people real quick. Because you're elderly, and I'm from, I have a Southern background, because you're elderly, I'm going to automatically extend respect to you. I don't expect you to extend respect to me because you're my elder. The minute you break it, it's on and popping.
Yeah.
and I don't go back the other direction. I'm going to tear that ass up. Not physically, I would never hurt a no person, but I'll hurt your feelings.
Well, yeah. So fill out that census. And also put pressure on getting funding to the US Post Office as well, because there was a report a couple of months ago saying that if they did not get the $6 billion they need, then either the post office is going to be privatized, it's going to go belly up, something's going to happen. So moving on, we are about 11 or 12 weeks from the first spark of the George Floyd protests. Now, during that duration, as we talked about it, there were all these corporations and celebrities and people, banks that came out and made these statements in terms of standing with solidarity. Well, a report came out from the Public Accountability Initiative, I think that's their name, that said that all those woke corporations that publicly supported Black Lives Matter privately funded the police, right? So this is some of the things we were kind of talking about. So let's see exactly who's really real several weeks ago.
Well, you know, I did several posts in the wake of these so-called woke mother cluckers. my Facebook word, my online word. You know, people like Netflix it was one of the early ones that came out. And I know there was someone you wanted to talk about, but what I did was I started researching the companies, and I was looking at their upper level executive management, upper level executive staff, you know, CEOs, COOs, VPs, and those people. I looked them up online. Let's say, for example, Netflix, white. There were 7 white people. These are the decision makers. You know, you have people like JP Morgan Chase, you know, and they've been famous for all kinds of racist stuff, and they've been part of the transatlantic trade, slave trade, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they just are egregious. So they also came out talking about, you know, Black Power and the Black Power movement, and, you know, Black Lives Matter. And then, you know, we discover that this is a facade. You know, when they say facade means what's in front of your eyes for your eyes to see. But behind the scenes, not only are they not woke, not only do they not care about Black Lives Matter, they're one of the companies, I don't know so much about Netflix in terms of this, but they're one of the companies amongst a few other companies that not only don't care, but they are funding police shenanigans. They're funding police organizations by the millions. You know, they've given $4 million to this police organization. They have an award ceremonies where, you know, they're honoring police for doing this and that. And pretty much, and still now, they're honoring officers and funding police organizations within, you know, the police department and unions and all that, to basically say, wink, wink, we support everything you're doing. And so that was also a part of, you know, when people were getting beaten and tased and rubber bullets and hose and all these, especially when you see like New York, all these protests, that's because they felt emboldened. They felt emboldened because they had the backing of not just the police and the fraternal order of the police and these unions, and then certain laws. Then they've got also these private organizations that are gigantic that are also backing them too. So the power is like, you know, they say, you know how the young kids say stacks and stacks and stacks when they talk about money? That's how they have the power. Power, 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 power with impunity. So people keep wondering, well, you know, what, you know, you had, you know, George Floyd, then before you had Eric Garner, then you had Tamir Rice, then you had Philando Castile, you know, and you had Sandra Bland, and you had Breonna Taylor. They keep wondering, even after these immediate things happen, they keep wondering why there's a string of these killings and shootings and knees in the neck and choking still happen because of all this stuff. They know nothing's going to happen to them because everything's tied together. Please believe it. So when you're talking about people like JP Morgan Chase, you think they don't have any judges in their back pocket? You think that JP Morgan Chase don't have, I can't say for sure, but I'm just going to throw it out there as a possibility, the mayor of New York in their back pocket in some way, shape, or form. You know, people don't get into these positions in a silo. They don't get into these, you got to kiss the ring. You don't just get to be the mayor of New York. You don't get to be the mayor of any city. There's always rings being kissed. We don't know where the rings are, but they know where the rings are. And the rings are never private people who are just voting for you. You can't get on the ballot till you kiss the ring. So like all of these things that we see where you have all these big organizations and corporations, you know, one CEO took a knee and was out there trying to act like he was, you want to look like you're on the right side of history while you're still stabbing us in the back. There was an old song, I don't know what year, because I'm 56, it came out before I was out. They're smiling in your face all the time. They want to take your place. Those backstabbers. Backstabbers. The OJs. I know the group. I just don't know when it came out. The 1970s. You know, so that's the order of the day, right? So when people, and there's a form, here's what you do. There's a form. I'm gonna hope you can embed the form. I'm gonna send you the link. There's a form to test that ass. So all these companies talking now. I don't know who black is there, because I think there was a couple of black folks in the picture of JP Morgan Chase, that article, and some other corporations have 1 or 2 black people. They don't have no big positions, but 1 or 2 black people in the company. So if you're working for the organization that we're talking about, just look at JP Morgan Chase, any company you work for, doesn't have to be Netflix or JP Morgan Chase, any white-owned big corporation, it could be Walmart, any black white-owned corporation, if you're black, management level, hell, could be a regular employee, give them this survey and test that ass. Test Chick-fil-A, they're talking smack too and taking knees and stuff. Test them, give them this survey. And it's a survey that was made by an organization for Black, Indigenous, people of color to be able to say, you claim you want to get down, you claim you're an ally, you claim you care, you want to make sure you change shift the power paradigm. Take this survey, let's see where you are with your company. Let's just at least find out where you are. And it asks all kinds of questions about diversity. And if you don't want to fill it out, that's telling you something. And so they say, give it to either somebody in the upper level of HR, a person there, the head of HR, and get them to fill it out and send it back to you. Or somebody like a president, CEO can fill this out. It's digital, and fill it out. And by the time you finish answering those questions, we'll know if you actually are doing what you're saying. We'll know if you're actually walking the walk that you're talking. Otherwise, that stuff is a facade. And that article, if you're embedding it, it lists a few other organizations, but I wasn't shocked at that. Supporting the police to harm people, saying that you care about Black lives, but you have nobody Black in decision-making positions. So all you're doing is making facades. I mean, some of these companies, they even sent out, I know it was, I'll use Netflix as an example. Netflix sent out some kind of like list that you can sign up for. It was on all these, they connect with all these Black organizations, so online. I'm a member of different kinds of Black production groups. So they sent one out for the those groups to say, have people fill these out if they're in production, and we want to get a list of people who are Black and people of color to hire them. I ain't heard nothing yet. I put my name on the database. But what they're doing is they're gonna get more funding. See, that I'm not dumb. You got a database of Black folks there, you gonna get money. I'm doing diversity. It's all usury also. They're co-opting this to actually make money from us. There are organizations actually, white organizations doing crowdfunding campaigns to help Black people. Well, don't you have money already? You want to be given money to give out money when you're already rich?
Right.
In fact, GoFundMe, a crowdfunding platform, has put together a crowdfunding campaign for Black Lives Matter. Y'all got a lot of money. You need to crowdfund to get funds to give us funds?
That's an excellent point. I was thinking we must have tuned into the same kind of intellectual thing. But I was like, let's call out GoFundMe. How much money has GoFundMe made off of this campaign and all of these quasi, when people die and don't have the money to get buried, or all of the money GoFundMe has made? And they have not, in my opinion, done anything remotely close enough to all of the profit that they have made off of tragedy and death, and specifically tragedy and death of Black lives. Like, they should be the first, to do it. So that's an excellent point. I also want to point out, in terms of, remember several weeks ago, we had the conversation about the NFL and then playing the Black national anthem, and they saying it's okay to take a knee. People are taking a knee in Major League Baseball. They're taking a knee now in basketball. So what corporations understood now, it's easier. You can still make money if you just kind of allow just a little bit and act as if you genuinely care.
Well, it's called placating the culture, right? You want to placate the Black people. And so, I mean, I know the difficulty of being Black and poor and a woman. So it's exhausting to be Black. It's tiring to be Black. It's tiring to watch people be Black. It was tiring to watch, exhausting to watch George Floyd get murdered right there live on camera. even if it's not something happening to me directly. So just to watch my people be harmed and me be harmed, and the COVID and the dying from the COVID and the rents and all of the in the mortgages, all of the can't, you know, they call it, you know, food insecurity. No, it's hunger. You know, homelessness. They call it, you know, housing insecurity. What they using new words now. Insecurity. No, it's called homelessness. So it's tiring. So we want to just make it all stop. So we can say, oh, see, you know, the bully likes me now. Like, I was never taught that growing up. When the bully keeps whooping your ass, the only way to stop that bully is to stomp that bully into the ground physically. And then the bully gonna leave you alone. Right. So I'm not saying physically harm JP Morgan Chase, right, and Netflix and GoFundMe and these other organizations. I'm talking about cutting ties with that ass. So you should not be having no money in JP Morgan Chase. You should not be having no investments with JP Morgan Chase. You should not be, you know, using GoFundMe as a platform. There's other crowdfunding platforms, which I do love GoFundMe, but when I do my next crowdfunding campaign for my next film, I'm gonna have to look for other crowdfunding platforms because you play in a game. I'm gonna have to look and see what's going on in the structure of that organization before I give you my money. So we have to be very, very intentional about the power of our dollar, and even if it's $1, if you take $1 and multiply $1 times every Black person in America, not just the world, just America alone, it's 46 million Black people in America. That's 46 million Black people that can give you $1. A homeless person can beg for $1 in 10 minutes and get $1, right? So that's the problem. So we need to break them where it's at so they know that don't make them too mad. Ooh, the Negroes getting mad. Don't make them mad. So that's what they're doing it, but it's all for facade, all of them. And you know, that article that we looked at had a couple of names in there, but the list is much longer than the article.
Oh, I mean,
it's everybody everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. That's white organizations. They're not doing anything because if you notice, all you see is talk. The faces of the decision makers, even as we speak, have not changed. You had one or two who really stepped up. You did have people like the husband to what's his name, Ohani, whatever his last name is, who's married to Serena Williams, the white guy who
yes.
So the one, he stepped down and gave the job to a Black man, the CEO's job to a Black man. Now, when I say gave, the Black man was overqualified, you know. So he got out the job. He don't need that job. When you are he's the founder and the CEO, do you know how many perks they get? He has so much money, he can probably feed an island for the rest of his life and never out of his couch cushions, you know, from the interest rate. So there are a couple, I mean, I say a couple, like a handful of people who actually made a move like that. You have Barbara Streisand, which I love. She actually gave George Floyd's daughter shares of Disney.
Oh, wow.
She didn't give her some bitch ass college fund. I'm not knocking college fund because, you know, we might want to go to college, but that doesn't grow, right? A college fund doesn't grow in value. It's just sitting there for you to get, the girl's 9. It's just sitting there when you get 18 or 17 and you want to go to college. It's just there to go to college. I don't know what happens if you choose not to go to college. Can you take it out and use it for other things? I don't know, but it didn't grow in interest. But shares in Disney, she's 9, boo. Generational wealth. By the time she turns 18, or I don't know what the terms are when she can get the money or save, you know, keep going or sell the shares, but she can't sell now. She's 9. That's how you do it. She purchased shares. They didn't tell the numbers of shares. She didn't put some healthy amount of shares in that girl's pocket. And the girl was online with her little certificate for the shares.
Yeah, so that's like the generational wealth.
Right.
Speaking of Disney, the next topic we're going to talk about is Black is King, Beyonce, since you had mentioned Disney.
Mufasa.
Before we go into that, I wanted to mention what you were talking about. We also must recognize that there were corporations that did give, and there was a really good discussion about Amazon's Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, who gave some money to 6 HBCUs, and so you know. There were people in the HBCU community that were like, you know, because in some cases it was the largest donation that these HBCUs received, right? Which is the tragedy of one of the many tragedies of HBCUs. But so people were kind of, some people were saying, oh yeah, she did that, to spite Bezos and everything. People like, let's put this in context. This is what you call a write-off. If she got a substantial amount of money, she's like, oh, I can it could look like I really care about Black Lives Matter. I don't know if she does or not. And at the same time, I could write this off for my taxes at the end of the year. So I don't necessarily, to me, I'm not convinced that what she did was out of.
Well, in her case, it's a little bit different than the husband himself, right? Because she didn't ask for future earnings of the business because she could have. He's moved on. They've moved on. He still has Amazon. He's going to make way more money than she's ever gotten. He's still going to make more money. I want to caution Black people from every single thing that happens has to be a problem. Those things you just mentioned are, of course it's a write-off. That's built into the structure of our tax system. When you need to vote for a different president and figure out what the Congress and the Senate is doing, don't get mad at her because they let all these top 2% have all these kinds of write-offs. That has nothing to do with her. Okay. Number two, yes, she's going to write it off. But now, do you know how many organizations she could have given that money to? Lots of them. St. Jude's, the Red Cross, there's a bunch of white colleges. A lot of people give to Harvard and Yale and Princeton. So no, I don't know her. I don't think it was all about that. I think it was how sometimes it's like meeting a husband. How you met your husband? If you would have met your husband, let's say when he was 22, you wouldn't have been married. It wasn't the right time. Sometimes you meet a person at the time they're ready for something, right? And it had nothing to do with the person before you necessarily, or the person before that. You just met the person at the time that they were looking to settle down, and you were right there with the thing they were looking for. So I think because of the ongoing protest and the ongoing, I guess the lava boiling over of Black Lives Matter and it's spilling on everybody, it just happened to be around the time all of her stuff was final. So why not give it to the historically Black colleges? I see nothing wrong with that at all.
So So for me, my position is that it is deserved.
Absolutely.
I see Mackenzie Scott as a plantation mistress, straight up. When the plantation master was making all that money off of breaking the backs of slaves, which is what Amazon is today, total exploitation.
Yes.
I don't know what their bedroom or their inner conversations were, but she didn't have any problems with it, and she walked away with she walked away with a significant amount of money that she does not need. So I cannot absolve the plantation mistress from the plantation that was created, for Jeff Bezos.
You never absolve the mistress. You don't absolve the white man.
Right.
But you make sure you now get your reparations. That's a reparation.
Right. No, now that's what I said. It's deserved. Now it's totally deserved.
Oh yeah. But you don't not speak on the bull because it's bull.
Right.
Oh
right.
yeah.
So yeah. So with that, you mentioned Disney and you mentioned shares. So for those of you who don't know, I am in Europe, and so there's a lot of things that I can't get and I'm pretty sure I might can get it, but I didn't have access to the Black is King film that was produced, directed by Beyonce.
Yes.
Beyonce knows Carter. And
go Bay. Mm-hmm.
So after its release, there's been a lot of discourse about from the content and what's in it and what does it mean to how she is being described by critics. So you are the pop culture goddess, so I'm going to let you go ahead and I will just add my little
let's start with now from what I understand, the I Am King, Black is King, I guess there was a movie version of Lion King. So I think the music from that she did, and this is now turned into a documentary. So that's how I think that went. And I have to see the movie version of Lion King. I haven't seen the movie version. So she was the one that did the music for the movie version of Lion King, or most of it or whatever. So now for this piece here, I guess that part blew up. So this piece here, she got paid $100 million for the project that she's now directed and produced. And I learned, sidebar, she knows how to edit. She uses Final Cut Pro. I don't think she's editing now, but when, you know, in her younger, not so popular years, I mean, popular, but not as popular now, she took an editing class and she started editing some of her videos just because she wanted to learn. So I don't know if she had time to do it. Now she's a mom of 3 people, but this is before the babies were coming. I think she was actually pregnant with the first one, or either just had the first one. So anyway, but she does understand editing and can speak the language. So she decided to take on the project. She got $100 million. I don't think the money mattered to her. I just think she thought it was a good project. So I think it was her opportunity to use this as her platform to discuss in a musical way, Black culture, African culture, because Black culture is African culture. We come from Africa, and Africa's in us. You know, of course, there's nuances to the culture because it's different countries and different tribes and different places and spaces, and we're here now as African Americans, and we were removed a bit, but even the way we dance, you can still see African dance in our bodies. I mean, just the culture's there. Like the way we suck our teeth, like, you know, Africans suck their teeth a long time. They go like the Jamaicans, or the, you know, but we do it. And I'm like, that, because, you know, I grew up going, and then I started seeing people from other countries do the long suck. It's like, we suck our teeth too, but it's just a quick suck. So same thing. So just little things that are big things. So anyway, so I think that was what she was trying to do. I don't know the girl, but I think that's what she was trying to do. So not only was she trying to do it in terms of the kinds of lyrics she was writing, she hired African artists, musicians from Africa, I don't know what parts of Africa, to be in the film and sing their songs in the film. So all the clothing and the different things were cultural. Some of the things you wore, if you did your research, you would know, oh, where that comes from, that this king wore that, this queen wore that, what the meaning of this and meaning of that. So the way she was putting in certain styles of things with a little bit of American style. So she had this hat on one time. I'm gonna call it a hat, a headpiece. My brother's an Ethiopian Orthodox priest. He wears that when he does his Feast of St. Michael's. On that annual Feast of St. Michael's, he has his piece. I'm like, my brother has it on. He wears that. So she's putting in culture based on, you know, Ethiopia and all. It was just like amazing, like research to death. It was just unyielding, like bomb research, which of course, Professor, you can appreciate. So that was all solid as a rock. And so then the dancing, you know, you're not gonna. She's always dance well. And she had African dancers, she had American dancers, all kinds of people. I get the feeling that some things were shot there, but not everything. I can tell some things was probably like, you know, keyed in the green screen. I'm not for sure, but I mean, it was all solid. So now that's the low of the details. Now for me, honestly, it was a snoozer. It was bored. I was bored. It was 90 minutes of, I mean, love you, big, but I'm gonna get dragged by the you know.
Oh, they're gonna come, right?
Yeah, of the beehive. So it was boring to me because it was too long. I don't need to see 90 minutes. It was not really a story, right? She just strung along. It looked to me like a gigantic 90 minutes of just video where you don't have a stopping point. It's just a long. But when you see a different scene or you see different clothes, you kind of know, and a different song being sung, you know that, okay, this is now a scene, and then another scene. And so the scenes were videos to me. The scenes were small videos. So they were all great, but strung together for 90 minutes, I just didn't want to see that for 90 minutes. I thought it was gonna be some kind of story with that stuff involved too, almost like a musical, right? When I go to a musical, I'm expecting to see dancing and singing and other things, but there's still a story, a beginning, middle, and end. So that's the part that I'm like, oh Lord, you know. So other than that, the other stuff, I mean, it was amazing. Now, the downside is I think it's critically acclaimed. Most folks loved it, but I'm understanding that there's a faction of Africans talking about how she's co-opting the culture, or she is, you know, what do you call it? Appropriating the culture, co-opting the culture, all that. Now, I did a post today about it, and I said, listen, I don't know every African in the world. I've never even been to Africa, but, well, let me just put it this way. I haven't been back to Africa since slavery, because I've been to Africa. I was born there by way of my forefathers and foremothers. So this is the problem to me of white supremacy and the problem of how institutional racism and white supremacy permeates the world. How can a person from Africa, you might have moved here from Africa, you're African, you live here in America. How do you even open your mouth, one African, 10 Africans, any number of Africans say that she's appropriating her own culture? She's African. And then we're having a debate. Somebody said, no, she's Creole. I know she's not from Africa. Y'all need me to really, come on, y'all, please.
Who in the hell said she was Creole? You know, that shit, you know, my mother is from Louisiana, and that Creole shit is such a bunch of bullshit. It is, as you say, a product of white supremacy. Because, you know, well, one, that's a whole other thing, but go ahead. What does that mean?
No, I'm listening.
And this idea, you know, Creole, it has evolved into this idea that people got raped a little bit more in a certain part of Louisiana than others. That's what it has evolved to be when, you know, the term is where my mother's from, where my grandmother's from, it meant black. That's how you divided a white person from a black person. Black person was Creole, a white person was Cajun. So it just irks me when people say that. I'm sorry, I inserted myself.
That to me is related. So we're having this war on my page. And then one girl who's from Africa I don't really get Africans on my page, so I got a couple of Africans talking. One African girl was like, well, in Nigeria, and I said, girl, she's bringing up the different locations, South Africa and in Nigeria, and she's naming places, and they don't do that. I said, listen, girl, I'm not gonna sit there and break down the countries of Africa on the continent. This is a general conversation. It's nuanced, of course. I know that there's American culture and there's little cultures within cultures, but we are African. And yes, the culture is still in our body. She was like, it ain't in your DNA. I said, but it is in our DNA, because you see it everywhere. You see it in how we move, how we look, how we think, how we talk, everything. The fashions is African. Every Black designer infuses African in their fashions. I don't mean kente cloth per se. So like it's there. And we can claim the motherland because this is our heritage. So yes, she's African, but yes, she's also from New Orleans. Well, she's not from New Orleans. Her mother's from New Orleans. She's actually not from New Orleans. No, her mother is actually. So I said, it's no different than me. I'm not going to sit there and divorce myself from Africa because I was born in America. One person, well, you're from America? I said, yeah, I'm African. I'm African-American. I'm Black. I'm a Newarker. I was born in Newark. I claim to have Southern roots. I say Southern roots because I wasn't born in the South, but I have Southern culture that I still hold on to today. All of that's there. I'm tall. Like, what do you mean? I'm a woman. So I'm not going to divorce any of that. I said the girl from Africa. That's it. And we going in. So the thing is, the sadness of that all of that is, now the boredom of it all is one thing, but to pick her apart, you don't have to like the entertainment piece of it all, because I was bored. But now I can't pick apart all of the solid, costuming that goes back to the culture, all of the solid music and the lyrics and all of that was solid. That can't be picked apart. It just can't be. She's African. Stop.
Well, I think there's so much you said I want to respond to.
Go for it. It can be bots. Yeah. Too. It can be bots. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is so. Hopefully, I could respond. I'm gonna respond to a couple of things. One, I think this is a really great conversation. Well, because so a newspaper called, and it was either Rolling Stone or Rolling Out magazine. Maybe it was Rolling Out magazine. Y'all still owe me money. Y'all didn't pay me, bitches. Anyway, okay. When I used to live in Atlanta. So anyway, I called her Mama Africa. And people were offended by that because that was a term that was, that's what Miriam Makeba, the singer, was called Mama Africa. And she was somebody who was very much active in South African liberation and subsequently was exiled, so on and so forth. They were like, you're nothing close to Miriam Makeba, which I do agree. I think I agree. The person who chose that, I thought that was, you call it an egregious error. I think that was egregious of them.
But don't call Beyonce for that. She didn't call herself that.
Right, exactly. She didn't call herself that, right? She made
no claim.
Seldomly does she make public statements.
Never.
Right? So also, I think the clash between our people of African descent outside of Africa, and more so, I would say specifically the United States? Are they culturally appropriating when we reimagine what our culture would look like? See, if you have not been in the process of the shit being stripped, you don't understand the process of working back to it, right? So you know what I mean? So that's the disconnect. Correct. And that cultural, that process has become something, I would say, that when Africans left the continent after slavery, when they had the choice to leave, right, and come to places such as the States or, you know, Europe or so on and so forth, is that in order to kind of position themselves, it's like, oh no, I'm not the local native Black person, slave Black person. I actually have an intact culture, which is bullshit too, because colonialism, you know, wreaked havoc. And, you know, that's why, you know, in South Africa, a lot of, you know, the Black people don't speak Zulu or whatever the native tongue is, right? So these are these clashes. And also, I think this is a conversation also about capitalism too. So that I think that, I know Beyonce, she is very well read in order to, or a well-taught student. She had 30 artists on her stuff. Most of them were African, right? Very well taught, right? So in order to even present in all of these different costumes, she had to be very well read, very well studied. I know it's a fact. She practices some sort of Santeria, Voodoo, Lukumi, or something like that. But so with that being said, I don't think that she is absolved or she should not be critiqued. I don't think everybody's art is critiqued. Oh, right. And everybody is going to have their opinion. Yeah. I think like this is an evolution. I haven't seen it, but this is kind of evolution. If you look at Lemonade, she has like these little kind of visuals where she's fusing this indigenous or the indigenous and African and Kemetic, or I think it was more like Nigerian with contemporary, right? Which is what African artists do in Africa anyway.
What I was going to say, no, here's what I'm going to say, and you're a professor, so I could be off on this one, but no, contemporary to the white eyes. Nothing we do is contemporary. It's always African.
So
this is nothing new. No move that we make, no dance we do is new. All those rap is not new. It's African.
Right.
Nothing's new for us. We might not know it because we don't know our history, but when we're doing these things, if we look them up and dug back, it's African. So when white folks are loving it and clapping for it, to them it's contemporary. Or some young kid that don't know their history, but we know the wrongful, none of twerking, all that stuff. That's not new.
Right. So I wasn't talking about necessarily the dancing and the movement, right? And I do agree, like twerking is nothing new. I mean, yeah.
The clothes, all of that.
Right. And I've been to Africa about 5 times. So, you know, and I would say more so like this, what I see is especially like the younger folks, like they'll take a traditional, you know, like maybe textile, and they'll do a French cut on it, or they'll do, you know what I mean, whatever, and have like a suit or an A-line skirt, like, but even though we know those fashions, like you said, are old, right? So that's what I want to say. The critique that I have, there's multiple things, but the critique that I have is that I with this is somebody, of course, she's nothing close to a Mackenzie Scott, no. Amazon, right? But there's a really interesting strategy that she does. She'll do a quote unquote political move, like submit the letter in support of Breonna Taylor, and then she'll drop something that streams where you have to pay to be on it. This is a strategy, this is a capitalistic strategy. And so I'm on the fence in terms of who she really is and what she really represents. Has she grown artistically? Yes. Has she grown politically? Yes, but it's still not clear. But I'm not going to take anything away from how her work and her music does give girls and Black women and Black people a visual and aesthetic as boring as it can be. It seems like it's very quote unquote cerebral that she did. Something that they can retool in their minds, which is what we need right now.
Correct. I'll say this to you about capitalism. First of all, everybody who's watching this and anybody who has ever used the word capitalism should look at the film by Michael Moore. He doesn't have a lot of black people in it, but you can kind of juxtapose, you can switch out black for white because it's just awesome. If you want to understand the evils of capitalism, you need to watch that movie. It's just the best one out that really gives it to you hard. Back to this. Actually, no, you did not need Disney Plus. Now, what I do think they did, not her, Disney did. Now, I wonder if she knew about this. She probably wanted us to get it for free. They didn't promote it that they were going to give it to you for free not for free. Channel 7, ABC. Disney owns ABC. So the next day, I think it was on ABC. Luckily, I didn't run out and get Disney Plus to cancel later because it was on ABC, but I ended up logging into somebody else's account anyway. So it turned out it was on the regular channel, whatever your ABC channel is. In New York, it's Channel 7. So it did turn out to be on ABC. Now, what Oprah did and what Discovery did was when they were doing all those specials on Oprah talking about race, they told you up front, it's gonna air initially on OWN at this time, then you can catch it on Discovery at that time. They let you know because Discovery owns part of OWN. So anybody who doesn't have the premium package with OWN in the package knew to watch Discovery, like the girl that was on the show when we talked about Oprah's takeaways. She didn't have OWN. I said, oh, it comes on Discovery. She said, oh, I got Discovery. And she just set her thing to record on Discovery. So you knew up front, Discovery folks, it's gonna be here. And then and here's what Oprah did. That's my wife. Even if you did not have the package, and I wrote this girl an email. I said, if you don't have the package, she's offering this on OWN for free. Meaning you could just go online, I gave her the link, and watch this stream for free without having it in your package. She's not offering the other shows for free. You have to have OWN. But this thing, she said, that platform, that panel, she had for free for if you don't have OWN. Now, here's why she gave it away, because I think Oprah really means for you to watch it. But I think she feels like, and it's a 2-for-1. If you watch it on OWN for free, you might run across some other shows that you go, oh, that's on OWN, let me get on. She's gonna get some little, extra sales along the way down the road. But she did want you to watch it. So what they should have done was made that free.
Yeah.
Like you watch this for free for 24 hours or for 3 days or something, and then you're gonna see other stuff on there, and so you're gonna get some little purchases. So that's what I didn't like. So I don't know if she knew that they did give it to you on ABC a day later or 2 days later.
And I also want to just also say too, is that Disney, a couple of years ago, there was a lot of reports about how Disney horribly underpays its workers at the Disneylands and Disney Worlds. There was an Ethiopian immigrant who died in the parking lot outside of Disneyland. She had a heart attack and she was in the car for 5 or 7 days. And she had been living in her car for years because she couldn't afford living in Orange County. Also, Disney has a history of racist content from, racist and also gender, right? Content. And also Walt Disney, was a bitch. So anyway, and I think his granddaughter came out and talked about his racism too as well. So so there's also kind of, and we all have to do a dance when we're working with corporations. There's always a dance. So I'm just bringing up that it doesn't discount what it is that she did.
I've told Black people, anybody Black talking about Beyonce working for racist, so do you. Where you work at? Because first of all, there's 46 million Black people in America, and there's a handful of Black businesses that's big enough to hire Black people, not these little small companies like me, the Tyler Perrys of the world. They can't hire 46 million Black people. Right. Everybody I know work for somebody white, and they're probably racist. So shut the hell up.
Right.
Not you, but I'm saying,
no. I understand.
It's good to bring. No, you're not bringing it up because of her. You're bringing it up to say, be mindful of this company. You're not saying, oh, yours is coming at a different way. But I've seen people say, and then she's right, and work for the white man, but you work for the post office, but you work for Prudential Center, but you work for the white man too.
Right.
You work for Verizon, so you work for somebody that's a racist, probably most likely. You work for Chick-fil-A.
Right.
How Black have to make money some kind of way. You work for Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. And this is another thing, and this is something I think that kind of connects to when we were talking about Nick Cannon. Beyonce has been in the industry since she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about evolution and evolving in front of the public's eye. And there is a lot of pressure. So as we just regular folk are negotiating, working for the white man, we're constantly thinking about, you know, what's the difference in terms of working in order to feed my family or keep a roof over my head and being a tool of white supremacy. So that's where, like, I feel that, Clarence Thomas is a tool,
Well,
a conscious tool for white supremacy.
Well,
right.
So there are the Clarence Thomases. I don't think that's Beyonce.
That's not.
Right. Now, and there are some people that's mopping floors for white people that'll tell on your ass too, and you're black. So it's not just rich people that can be the tool. You have lots of poor folks that work in regular companies, and they're the ones that'll tell that white man about what you're doing, ain't doing, because they want the white man to love them. So it's all levels of it. You could be making $50,000 a year and be doing that. I've seen it many times. Or be making $100 million a year and be doing that. I've seen, like, I'll give you an example. Denzel Washington, he's the example of that. He ain't said shit yet about Black Lives Matter. And you're one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, so I ain't feeling you right now, Denzel. I ain't gonna go to none of your movies no more, Denzel. You need to come out the fucking closet and talk this shit right now. I need that. So he's an example of what you're saying. Beyonce, to me, I wouldn't classify her as that. Now, I'll go here with this. I do think we can't take the human away from the human. Something tells me, not just Beyonce, there's a disease called addiction to celebrity. I do think a lot of them get that. I think Beyonce has it. I for sure think that Nick Cannon has it, because remember, Nick Cannon has enough money to feed a small island for the rest of their lives. So I think he's doing too much begging, too many apologies. So why are you doing this? It can't be for the money. You cannot be missing the money. You don't need the money. You don't even need the popularity, because Oprah offered you $10 million to come over to OWN after it all jumped off.
Really?
So honey, Oprah stepping up a little bit. Yeah, my wife stepped up. I'm like, okay, Oprah, you get out the doghouse, because she was in the doghouse a little bit, But I ain't gonna divorce you, girl, but you in the doghouse a little bit.
Woo.
Yeah, she's get out the doghouse. It takes a lot for me to divorce Oprah. But, she does get in the doghouse periodically. She doesn't know. So she offered him $10 million after all of that, and after he had the rabbi on the show. She said, come over here to OWN. I'm gonna give you $10 million for just the one show. For Wild Now, I guess whatever version you can call it there. Puffy offered. He didn't do it. He's not talking. He keeps on talking about the Jewish people in politics. He's not saying, I'm going to Oprah. He could say, I heard what Oprah said, I'm going to. He didn't do nothing about going to Oprah. Puffy. He keeps trying to get in their good graces, because I think he's addicted to celebrity. You have that, it's a drug. So that's what I think he's chasing right now, until he has to come down off of it with a 12-step program, or, go into a corner and shake. But I think he has that. So I think a lot of celebrities have that. I don't know if they all know that they do. So I think there's an element of that attached to not all, but I'm sure close to all. And Beyonce's no different. She's still human. But I don't think that they all have it to the point where they cannot cut away from it to do the right thing, which I think Beyonce does do. So I think she's a mishmash of both of those things happening at the same time. But I don't think she's necessarily, feeding the white supremacy in that kind of way. But it always is, because you're working with them and giving them your brand and all that. So it always is, regardless, whether it's intentional or not. So yes. Right. To your point, yes.
Right. Yeah, we forgot to get, I'm glad you did mention Nick Cannon. Yeah. So I would like to see a little bit of what that development looks like in maybe like a month or two, to see what happens. But
all that extra apologizing.
Right, because the sentiment was, okay, it's one thing to say, hey, I'm going through a process of learning. And I might have mentioned something that was wrong, or that was an error. I offended anybody. I apologize. But people were like, dog, I mean, you're like, at this point, you're groveling and you're not looking, and you're actually losing your base.
Correct.
The people that put you on, you know what I mean? You're like, now you're being disrespectful.
People who look up to you, you're actually a traitor to your race. Mm. And I only said this recently. Black folks said it when they got mad, they apologized. I'm not mad they apologized, because if you feel the need to apologize for something that you did, like, I only apologize when I mean to apologize. If I meant to say it, like when I was on Tucker Carlson, I was asked, did I want to apologize? No, I didn't apologize for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, and I'm never gonna apologize for that.
Right.
I don't care if I have to eat bologna sandwiches for dinner every night. I'm not apologizing for that ever. I meant to say exactly what I said, exactly the way I said it. Now, there are times where we all, if we're talking on TV or we're doing something and you're somebody that's, you know, people have talk show hosts, you know, comedians, whenever your mouth is opening up and you're being yourself, you're going to make these mistakes. So if it's a mistake to yourself, if you yourself felt like you made a mistake and you want to apologize, I'm not going to knock the hustle. But all the extra groveling, no. I don't want to see nobody doing that, period. Particularly a Black man.
It almost seems as if the question is now, what do they have on you? Right? You know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. Like this has gone away from, I made a mistake, I want to atone, or I want to at least, you know, correct my error, to
blah blah.
You know, yeah, there's a portfolio and they presented it to me, and now I have to essentially give all my testicles and put them on the altar.
Wait, let's juxtapose that with the same thing that happened to Kevin Hart on the inverse, right? So very similar juxtaposition. So when Kevin Hart was gonna be the host of the Oscars, and he was like, "Oh yeah, blah, 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 blah." Then some old tweets came out from 2008 or 9 or whatever, and you know, saying "faggot," quote quote, and other things, and talking about if his son wore a dress or something and wanted to play with dolls, he would beat him. Just some mess about, you know, it was very homophobic. And there were specific tweets. So they resurfaced now, I guess in 2019 or 2018. Now, here's where I felt like he was a little on the other side. They wanted his apology to stay in the job. He refused. That part to me was a little bit too much, because you can't, I apologize already, but when you apologized back in 2009 when you did the tweet, these people, it resurfaced. Maybe they didn't know you apologized. You weren't that popular back then in 2008. I probably didn't read the tweet if I was from that community. So to me, that wouldn't have been the definition of groveling, to say, you know, hey, I did these tweets back then. It was wild. It was off the rails. I apologized back then, but I'm realizing they're resurfacing now. And those words are being seen again now to a population who maybe didn't see them then, and it's hurtful now. So I apologize. And I would have said, I'm not apologizing because I want to be the host of the show, because, I mean, they might not want me to be the host of the show either way, the award ceremony. I'm apologizing because I really did not mean to do that. This is not that time for that. I'm a different person today. That's why I'm apologizing. Whether they want me as the host or not, I'm apologizing, period. That's what I would have said. So in that case, that's a little bit different than what I'm saying here. Now, if he would have done that, I wouldn't have wanted him to do more of that. But yes, it's not a problem to do that. So you calling people these names, no, you can't do that. So that to me would have been the balance. This is too much to the right, and Kevin was too much to the left. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
no. And
it's not a bad thing to apologize, but listen, even if you are somebody I'm dating, like Oprah, she ain't got to keep apologizing. That's my wife. Just make the change, girl. But no, seriously, you're married. If I'm dating somebody and they totally screw up, not an affair, I'm out of there. But something like you screw up, and you have a sincere apology, I'm either, if I feel it's sincere in my body, I'm gonna accept the apology. I can really truly move on. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to keep talking, because I'm gonna become suspicious of you. Mm. If you keep on saying, but you know, baby, please. You know what's that character? Baby, please, baby, please, please. I'm like, why you keep? I said, yeah, what? And I'm gonna start now being like, well, what else would you do? You know.
So listen to this, and this is connected to Kevin Hart. It's really interesting that in light of the 30 claims of people that have worked on the Ellen DeGeneres show that has recently come out, right? Yes. The only person that I know of that has publicly defended her is Kevin Hart.
Other people did, but he's
okay. See, I don't. You know, I'm sorry. I don't follow. I don't.
Yeah, Katy Perry came out and defended her, and there was a couple that didn't defend her and said that she was the queen of mean. Well, when Ellen DeGeneres, when Kevin Hart was having all the vitriol was after him, you know, he was getting dragged for filth on social media, and all this vitriol was coming down on him. She came out and said, you know, she wasn't offended. She understands how comedian. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. You know, she's a comedian. They pushed the envelope and stand up. She understood, but see, he wasn't doing. His tweets were not in the. If there was an old, like, I mean, all these comedians back in the day when they did stand up, you know, like Richard Pryor and all these comedians, you know, said that word and other things in their stand up. If that resurfaced, I would think that was a different time, right? But these were tweets as yourself. It wasn't like you in one of your shows or specials. But nevertheless, so she stood by him. She stood up for him and tried to use her face and place and brand to say, put him back in the good graces, y'all. Let's just love him up. I'm gay and I'm okay with it, kind of thing. So she did do that. So I guess he felt like he can return the favor in her time of need. I'm not mad at it.
Okay. So anyway, political, right? Entertainment, everything is political.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have any stock in that conversation. So speaking of who gets the space to grow and apologize and who does not, let's kind of take, because we still need to talk about the stimulus and all these things, but let's kind of, this is something that's old, but it's still relevant. Let's talk about Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
this incident that went on, that is still murky in terms of what the exact details are. Now, according to Megan Thee Stallion's public statements, that she was shot multiple times. She had to receive surgery, and it was as a result of some type of altercation or clash that took place while in the car with Tory Lanez and a friend of hers. Tory Lanez is what is this? A singer, producer, who actually got a lot of, he got more visibility during coronavirus with doing like these Instagram shows. And so there has not been a lot of press about it, which I thought was really kind of interesting. But I'm, more so thinking about this. I'm gonna let you talk and then I'm gonna chime in.
Well, it's not interesting it didn't get a lot of press because she's a Black woman being abused.
Exactly.
Nobody. Now, when Rihanna got beaten up by Chris Brown, she's a pop icon by this time. She's now achieved pop status. Pop, right? That's crossover pop. So that was huge, and he was pop too. She's a rapper. Meg Thee Stallion's a rapper. She's a rapper / singing
and
rapper.
She's tall.
And she got booty. Okay. So so Meg Thee Stallion, and she talks tough and she talks hard and she's Black AF, as they say, Black as fuck. So that's why it wasn't the same kind of thing as a Rihanna. But generally speaking, they don't care about Black women, period. So we're not newsworthy, period. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know the details of what happened, and I don't care about the details of what happened, because there's all this talk, different, and it's always Black folks trashing a Black woman, laughing at a Black woman, talking about a Black woman. So it was said that there was some altercation and she was talking slick with her mouth. What I know about the law is very clear. A person's mouth, the retaliation for someone's mouth is not a fist. The law, that doesn't hold up in a court of law. I can't go to court and say, I smacked the piss out of Dr. Kaya because I didn't like what she said. I'm going to jail. I can't return that dislike with something that doesn't match, right? Even when you try to hurt me, like if you punch me in the face, I can't return that with a shot in the head. Now that's called excessive force, even when it's not a police officer. So in the law, I have a right to defend myself if we're gonna have a fight, but I can't pull out a gun and all you have is a fist. I'm going to prison. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know if she's slick with her mouth. I mean, she says these rap things and she's slick with the rap stuff, but I don't know if it's just, if art imitates life or whatever. I don't care what she said to him. I don't care if she cursed him out. As at any given point, if it's true, her mouth was slick, he could have walked out and left. We can always break up with someone who is abusive to us. Verbal abuse is abuse too. So let's be very clear. I know that a lot of women are slick with their mouths because that's the only power we have is our mouth, right? The only way we can fight back a lot to a man will be our mouth, because we typically can't physically beat a man. He's usually stronger. So I'm not, if she did tell him off, I wouldn't be shocked. That does not rise to that. You shot the girl in the foot, and luckily, I think she was talking about it, and she went to the hospital. Luckily, there was no nerve, it didn't go through any nerves or whatever, no nerve damage or whatever. So it went around the nerves or whatever. So luckily for her. So it's not cute. 50 Cent said some little jokey joke mess online, and then he had to apologize for it. You can try to find that tweet. And then he said, well, I wouldn't have been joking if I thought you got hurt, but she got shot in the foot. What do you mean, fool? What do you mean?
As somebody who is a victim of gun violence, right? And another thing, I was floored at how entanglement got more, the entanglement thing got more kind of, what do you want to call this, conversation, and went viral than this issue. There are still Black men that are still mad that it came out publicly that Jada stepped out on Will and are grieving for Will Smith. Then
they care that she got shot in the foot.
Yeah, right. Then she got shot in the foot, right? So these are the things that we're talking about when we say, and we say repeatedly, that and you say this, right? The Black woman is the most disrespected, unprotected person on the planet. Right.
I just repeat what Malcolm X has said, and it still applies today. But yes.
I mean, there is this assumption, in my opinion, that because of Megan Thee Stallion's stature. So this is the thing: a male rapper can talk. Will Smith is a rapper, right? They can sling their bravado, or like a Meek Mill. But when something like a Meek Mill goes to jail, there's this whole
50 Cent or a Biggie,
right? There's this whole kind of campaign in order to kind of, represent him and to save him, right? But when Megan Thee Stallion, who's in this very masculine space or this very aggressive, assertive space, does the same thing, it becomes the reasons why she got shot.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, this is, you know what I mean? This is like crazy.
But this is the thing about our culture. It's called cultures within cultures, which is what I was saying before. I know that there's a thing called culture, but there's little culture. So in the culture, women in general, not just Black women, are not treated with the same respect in abusive situations as a man who's the abuser. That's just general culture in American culture. Then when you have in the Black culture, it's even worse. Black women have zero respect. Our culture loves the Black man. Our culture wants to make sure the Black man is good. Our culture wants women to save the Black man. Our culture would get angry if we want to bring down the Black man. That's what they call it. When we want to say the Black man harmed me. What you said, you talking about the Black man? You could be ready to screw the Black man up? Like, we really cap for Black men. As we should, but not to the detriment of Black women. It's just the person who's wrong. You should do it for Black people, period. The one who's in the wrong gets dragged. That's all. But that's what happened. But see, here's what's going to happen. He done messed with the wrong one now. Now, I don't know what she's doing to move the needle forward on this jackass, but America is that NEED. I know you don't like me to say it that much, but I use my fake term, need grow. You need a couch. NEED, grow. Mm-hmm. That's what we call it, need grow. The need grow, Tory Lanez is getting deported. Drop that bomb.
Oh, really? I heard that he wasn't. Okay, let's see.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that's the talk, that he's gonna get deported because he's from Canada. He's not American. And now all this stuff online is saying, oh, no, put his ass out the country.
Mm-hmm. Right, because Chris Brown couldn't go to Canada. I think he's banned. I don't know if he's still banned for his assault against Rihanna. Another thing I want to also say in light of that, with the Megan Thee Stallion situation, I forgot my point. But with this incident, I think something Megan Thee Stallion said, this really has given her a time to like reflect and reassess. So I just say, wherever you are, or the Megan Stallions of the world, you do have the space to grow. Oh, that's the part I wanted to say. Yeah. So how there's this thing that goes on in terms of me being pro-Black does not make me anti-white. I think by people being pro-Black men, in our kind of, conversation as it is, does mean in a lot of ways that it's anti-Black woman.
Like, well, I get called a man basher. No, I always say, you stand up for Black men as you should. I always say as you should, but not to the detriment of Black women, because as we should for her too. And when the perpetrator is a Black man, then it's just, you done fucked up. That's all. So I'm not gonna stand, my mother always said, now, if you in school and you do the wrong thing, I'm not gonna stand behind you in your wrong. She's Southern. I'm not gonna stand behind you in your wrong. Don't let the teacher call me you wrong. I'm your mother, I got your back. But if the teacher calls and you wrong, I'm not gonna stand behind you in your wrongs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so right.
That's it. So like, and again, the unfortunate part about it is the dirty laundry's gonna have to come out, unfortunately, because we have social media. So we can no longer as a Black race hide and have our dirty laundry like we love. So it's just not gonna happen that way. So your dirty laundry gonna be out there. So don't dirty up your laundry and we won't see it dirty. Or wash it before we see it. So I'm not gonna sit there and say there's any reason for him to have shot her in the foot. Nothing.
Right. I mean, there's so many instances we could talk about it. I remember a couple of years ago, a Fabulous knocked out. It was his wife's or his girlfriend, mother of his child, teeth. Like there's all these, and it was so hush hush and covered up. So that is something. There actually was a story that came out about the anniversary of an article that was done in the Vibe or XXL that talked about the serious issue in the hip hop world with domestic intimate partner violence between artists and their paramours, right?
Right. But the statistic is 60% of the domestic violence happens in the suburbs, right? So the face of domestic violence isn't usually a Black person or a person of color, but they want to make that the face. So the fact is more white folks have domestic violence than Blacks. However, I really don't care. I don't want us to have any. So that's a problem for anybody. But the fact is, it's not more Black people or more rappers. It's not, specific to that particular lane of people. But I just don't want to see it, period. And the truth be told, some men do get abused by women, but they're too ashamed to tell because they're going to get laughed at by the police. Which I've heard stories, like if I call the cops, like, yeah, your wife is beating you up, like, yeah, man, okay. And it doesn't mean that the abuse is happening because the man can't beat the lady. He's not putting his hands on the lady. So sometimes it's because he's just choosing not to put the hand on the lady and he's getting abused. Now, why he doesn't leave, it's the same reason why women don't leave because he maybe have battered husband syndrome, battered man syndrome. I think when you stay with somebody long enough, even your own family, because family can hurt your feelings and call you dumb and your mama call you names and people, anybody you're staying with long enough who's abusing you, mama, daddy, lover, brother, verbally abusing and otherwise, eventually it's going to wear on you. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's the same for men, except for we don't accept them calling the cops to complain about it. So men are in a little bit worse position when the woman's doing it. I had a cousin. She's since passed away years ago. She used to beat a man's ass in the bar. She could beat a man. She whooped a man's ass in the bar. Boom, plain and simple. Knocked his ass out. It's not funny, but I'm just saying. So It does happen. So do I think it was right that she knocked this man out? If they had an argument, walk away. I don't think it's good that she knocked the man out. But just to say, men can get hurt by women too, physically hurt. Yeah. Not all, there's not that many that can beat us, but some women can beat a man's ass.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
I take the fifth on that one. So okay, here we go. We gonna move on. That was the last lifetime. Okay, so let's end talking about this money, right? This issue with the economy. So there's two things that I want to talk about. First, the pending eviction crisis, the housing crisis that we definitely are going to enter in. So all these numbers are coming in. Correct. And then the second part is the stimulus package that is still floating somewhere up in the lawmakers, going back and forth. So the first thing I want to talk about, the American Bar Association actually issued like a public resolution stating several things that will happen if the government does not step in and have some type of moratorium or put some type of plan in place that prevents owners, renters from being homeless and owners from losing their homes. It's two things, right? And so there's been some solutions that come up. What are your thoughts in terms of, what do you think some states you think are offering solutions that you like, or some things that need to be done?
Yeah, I'm checking out California, and it's not too bad because that lawyer you talked about that put that out there was from California. So I thought it was great that they were talking equally and evenly in the conversation about tenants and landlords. So I thought that was great. That's my first time ever hearing anybody talking equally about both of them, because what they don't realize is one affects the other. And I'm a landlord. If I'm a landlord and you can't pay me my rent, I can't pay the mortgage. So the moratorium is screwing me up too. And then if I can't evict you, I can't put a new person in who can't pay the rent, because you said I can't evict you. So all the states, not just California, I think all the states did some kind of moratorium around the time when they first started shutting down each state. You can't go to work and all this other stuff, unless you're an essential worker. Some companies were able to still have workers work from home if you worked on the computer or whatever. My brother's an architect, he worked from home. But for those who lost their jobs, they were saying, we're going to make it where there's a moratorium when you can't evict the person, you can't raise the rent, and the courts are not going to, there's no more courts because, we have Corona, you can't evict in the courts. So that shut down. But then equally, although they weren't saying it as hard, they were saying to mortgage companies, well, if the landlord has no money, you just can't foreclose. But there was a lot of talk about evictions. You hear that a lot. You don't hear nothing about foreclosures. Evictions. They only care about the tenant. Fast forward now, this is month 4 or 5, right? After all that shut down. Now call me simplistic Betty, simplistic Susan. Back in March, and I don't see any of this. There's some talks in California about some different ways, like, a tax credit. I think somebody was talking about tax credit where they're going to give the landlord a tax credit that would kick in 4 years, where like if you didn't collect rent, they'll give you a tax credit on the taxes you pay on your house. And then that money you save can kind of go for the mortgage. But then, come on, I own my house. Well, I'm buying. My tax credit, I don't physically see the money in my hand, right? So what do you mean a tax credit? So it's not terrible. And then other people like New York, I think that was California talking about something like a tax credit. And New York is talking about, just plain old, landlords can't evict you and call this number if they try to evict you because the courts won't evict you. So here's the thing. I said this a long time ago.
And I also, let me just say this, and I also think that maybe this is California, was saying something like, for renters, when you are able to pay, you start paying, but then you pay that money on the back end, or perhaps even, I don't know.
About maybe like if the tenant, like let's say they were saying, let me go back. So when they do open the courts up, I think most states are doing this. When they do open the courts up, they're saying that the landlord cannot evict you for non-payment of rent. So let's say you've been behind 4 months now, and now the court's open. I can't now evict you for this 4 months of rent that you owe since the coronavirus. I have to start from now. So let's say as of August 1st, we're going to start fresh with the rent paying. I can't now say, all right, bitch, y'all's ass didn't pay July, June, April, and March. So I'm going to evict you for those rents you didn't pay. They can't do that because that was because of coronavirus. Now, the caveat is, if the landlord tries to evict you, now I think it's in California, New York, and a lot of the states, and they can prove, you got to still prove, because I know New York is talking about this, you got to still prove that the reason why you didn't pay was because you were affected by coronavirus in some way. You lost your job, you were sick, something. Because I have one example of a lady, I'm not going to name her name. She had a tenant that never lost their job, they never lost income, and they simply didn't pay the rent all this time because the moratorium was in place. They were just a get over asshole, just because they could. So now that the courts are opening back up, she's about to get evicted because she's got to prove to the court, and they're going to ask for, you didn't get paid. We prove you had no income. Did you collect unemployment? You didn't? Well, how did you eat? Like she got to prove it. So she's going to be evicted. So it's not going to be as simple as. So they're saying that those back monies that you accrued, they're going to put that on the back end, and you can pay. They're going to try to work when you pay over time. That, as a landlord, I wouldn't want that because I need my money now, but I couldn't do anything about the moratorium, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. But here's where that's going to be a catch-22. How many people can catch up 4 months of back rent and pay current rent? If I have 4 months of back mortgage and then hit the current mortgage, I can't, I'm gonna be foreclosed.
And you don't have a job, and you still don't have a job.
No, but even if you got a job, which of course it's not working, but let's just hypothetically say, for the argument's sake of that dumbass thing that they're talking, let's say you got a job tomorrow. Let's say you got a job in July and your first check came in the middle of July. Let's say you had a job for a month. You don't have no savings. You can't barely do anything. You just got the job. So how are you gonna make that up? And what kind of job did you get? Most people don't have a job where they earn a living wage. Are you a lawyer? You know, are you a doctor? I mean, what kind of job did you get? So that's the problem. People don't earn a living wage with the job that they had. And then you lost the job? So that's problematic. Here's what I said a long time ago, and nobody's talking about this. It a little bit slipped in New Jersey and New York. New Jersey and New York, in recent times, I think in June, New Jersey did this, and just 2 Thursdays ago, New York did this. They opened up what they call a rental assistance program. Right? They're not doing so much talking about that. California didn't seem to introduce one of those yet. So New Jersey opened one up, but there was a little criteria to it. Newark opened one up in because they got that CARES Act money or whatever money they got that the governor gave them. So they opened it up June, and you had to fit a criteria, I guess, income level, whatever, and you get, I think, a month's rent. I forgot what the numbers were. That was in June. Just 2 Thursdays ago, to be exact, because I sent somebody the link, New York opened theirs up and said, we're opening up this rental assistance program, and what they're doing is paying the 4 months back rent. They're going to pay 4 months of rent. And you apply for this rental assistance program, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. But here's the problem. That's cool, right? And there's still a problem going forward. People still ain't got no jobs. So that's something that they're doing a little bit. Here's what they could have did. In every state in the United States of America, we already have a rental assistance program on the books in this country. It's called Section 8. It's already on the books. A working program happening already. All America had to do, every state, California, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, every state in the United States, all they had to do, since you didn't want to do what Canada did and gave us $2,000 a month, like what Canada did. Okay, you didn't want to do that. You took the extra $600 a week from us if you were unemployed, right? So you're not doing that. So all you had to do was expand the already existing rental assistance program. It's already there. There's already a budget line for that. Expand it. So you wanted to make the landlords take care of people who voted for you? I was a little bitter about that. Why you gonna sit there and tell me to take my rent? Why should I let you live in my house for free? I don't have to take care of you. I'm not the politician. Why should the landlord take care of you? So they never, and still to this day, this program that they're doing in New York and New Jersey is just from the CARES Act money. It's not the extension of a Section 8 program. Because here's what they could have done. With the Section 8 program already in existence, they could have given you rent for, let's say, a voucher for a year. Meaning, even if you get a job, you get on your feet, and then it's over for a year because it's a temporary voucher. You know why I know they can do it? Because I've been a landlord since 1994. There was a building here in Newark that something happened. They were inspected, a big 20-unit building. You get inspected. They failed inspection. They could not, they lost their C of O. The inspection made them lose their C of O. That means you can't occupy the building, certificate of occupancy. These tenants had to get the hell out of the building right away. So therefore, the city of Newark gave them emergency Section 8 vouchers. How do I know? At the time it happened, I had a for rent sign on my door because I was looking for people for my apartment. And the girl said she just got Section 8. I said, you just got Section 8? They haven't had that. They opened the list again in Newark. She said, no, it was an emergency Section 8 voucher. That's how I knew it was happening. You can do it. They wouldn't do it because they want to turn this. It's like they want to pit the landlords against the tenants. They want to make us pay. They don't want the money out of the pocket of the people. It's right there.
Right.
And I've been paying our rent every month. You could have been paying their rent every month since March. And the landlord gets their rent. You get to live here, pay my mortgage.
And you know what another thing is that I don't think a lot of people, you made some excellent points. A lot of people don't understand, and this is what the American Bar Association was saying, that if these landlords, which are considered small businesses, lose their homes to foreclosure, there are all of these kind of mega conglomerate real estate investment companies that have been stockpiling their cash. You know, they made some money from coronavirus. and they're ready to buy, you know, in bulk, all of these foreclosed homes. That's what's going on right now. They're just salivating
I
and
told
waiting.
my sister that, but she didn't want to believe me because she always thinks you always negative. Okay, girl, let me tell you something. I get called every day. Hey, Lisa, I'm so and so. Can you want to sell your house? I have never gotten so many calls until Corona. So that's a correct statement you just made. So I saw this in March, that because when you didn't simply just expand that rental assistance program, I'm like, well, why? You do it all the time. So that means it told me why you didn't do it. It's a game. Oh, all of a sudden, the governor of New York found some money to pay 4 months rent for people to apply for the rental assistance program. Then you could have paid it since since March. You found the president made it very clear he's not going to give Andrew Cuomo no more money for the city of New York. There was nothing on TV with no extra check coming to you. So you found some money conveniently because you want to get reelected or something, but it was all a plan to shift the energy to rich people to now turn, like Newark is gentrifying. Absolutely.
That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, actually, we're going to put a story out in the next week or two that's talking about what the coronavirus pandemic looks like in a gentrifying city like Newark, right? Because the reporter that's doing it is like, it's a ghost town in Newark in terms of commercial businesses and things like that. But you go to Westfield or you go to Caldwell, it's like popping. Like, you know what I mean? They're secure. But so that's something that we're going to be working on. Another thing, your idea is excellent in terms of expanding Section 8. You can give people jobs. Do you know how many jobs you can infuse into the, economy if you open up Section 8? All of the things that it takes in order to certify a place and blah, 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 blah. These are these infrastructure things that are actually needed. And Section 8 already needs to be revamped, just like the New Jersey unemployment thing. And a third thing I think that it will do is that it would, in my opinion, remove a lot of these, as you said earlier, these financial institutions or these nonprofits that are getting money to give out PPP loans and all of these other loans. And look, I know this for a fact in Newark, there is an agency that was giving out or was designated to give out monies to businesses, and some of the people on their board got money, right? So when it is in the government, right, there's supposed to be this level of checks and balances that we need, that a lot of these, this transparency that a lot of these organizations do not have. Like, who is getting this money? So I just wanted to say that.
So when I saw that they didn't do something as simple as that, I don't have the best brain in America. So when I know that you have a system within your reach that you created and you forgot about it, it tells me you ain't trying to remember it. So like, I know it's a reason. You know, there's always a reason why something's so simple, you're trying to make it hard, as the Lauryn Hill line goes. So there's a reason. It's never for nothing. Y'all about to get paid, not us.
Oh, they've been getting paid. They've been getting paid. And so they're stockpiling.
Correct me, yes.
Right, on the other side of coronavirus, the gap is going to get bigger if there is whatever that needs to be done needs to be done.
Yeah, because let me tell you something. I have 2 tenants, and as y'all people who believe in God say, God bless. You know, God's good all the time because they paid. And actually there were 2 there's a father, daughter, and 2 young ladies who are together. The one young lady's a truck driver. The other young lady is a makeup artist. She wasn't working. She could have legitimately said, we don't have the money because it's one income now missing. The girl on the first floor, she's a teacher's aide. And the father's an electrician. Well, he's been an electrician a long time and he's a essential worker, but that's one income that went, because they didn't keep teachers' aides. She could have said, well, girl, I ain't got my job. But out of integrity, the father handled the whole nut. Out of integrity, the girl's girlfriend, the truck driver, handled the whole nut. I got very lucky. Right. They were legitimately not working. The other partner of the couples, legitimately not working.
And this goes to a point of how the GOP and people stereotype folk working class, and this stereotype that people have been making over like fat rats during the coronavirus. That is complete and utter.
They're trying to say, even, I know we're not going to get into that fully, but they're trying to say even like the unemployment thing, for some people who didn't have a job. The unemployment plus the FUE,
the FUPA or FUCA, I forgot.
A little extra $600 a week.
FUPA.
They're saying, oh, because they stopped it as of last week was the last week. They're now talking about, are we going to like keep it? They're wrangling about should they keep it and whatever. While they're wrangling, people are not getting that, right? So you're saying that people don't have an incentive to work. The first order of business is if you think that that's telling you you're not paying them a living wage. If you can think that I don't want to go back to Dunkin' Donuts because I'm getting my money on unemployment, then that's more telling of you, not me. Because first of all, you told me to stop working. If I had not stopped working, I wouldn't be getting this money to begin with. You said stop working as a waitress, actor, whatever. Okay? Number two, you're not taking into account that the research shows that getting this money is absolutely not causing people to not want to go to work. People like to work. So that's a lie. Number three, people are not remember, they don't care that it's not just about I have no job now. I have no job when that money ends. Unemployment is not forever. You're on it for 13 weeks. They're giving you an extension for 20 weeks, and then it's over. And when it's over, you're still going to be unemployed because the job you did have, a lot of those jobs went out of business. They closed. Olive Garden here in West Orange closed down in the first by April. They're not back open. So there's no furlough. There's just no job. You can't go back to that job. So that's a lot of jobs. And what people don't realize is the lifeblood of America are small businesses. Most of the people who employ people are not gigantic conglomerates. And, JP Morgan Chase, and, a big business downtown Newark, like, Blue Cross and Blue Shield or Prudential Center. It's small businesses, mom and pop businesses, 10 employees, 25 employees, 50 employees, 100 employees, but not 1,000 and 2,000 employees. So the lifeblood of America is small businesses, and they have closed.
And another
got to open back up again.
Right, and it says it's called FPUC. That's the that's the line item. So this actually segues to the last thing that we're going to talk about in our weekly check-in is a second stimulus package is up. The Senate the Republicans and Democrats have been going back and forth in terms of what the final package would look like. And currently the latest report is that there's not a lot of movement because the GOP majority Senate, in particular about unemployment, does not want to do the $600 extra a week. And says that they feel that you should only get 70% of whatever the salary is that you were making, which actually could in the long run could actually be, because there are some people who might have made quite a few, but we'll see what that looks like.
There was a criteria. I think if you made over $40,000 a year, you weren't getting the $600 a week anyway.
I forgot. No, that was for. I thought that was for the stimulus check.
No. I'm saying for this over this 600.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought that was the stimulus check. That if you made over 40,000,
yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. If you made over 70, you could. If you made over 150,000, it was something like that.
That was the first stimulus check, but the second
we didn't get no second stimulus check.
Right.
There was no stimulus check. Second stimulus check.
No, I'm saying in the proposals that they submitted for the second stimulus package. Right. They're saying
the criteria will be X. Right.
Yeah. So there's like this back and forth. Now, the Senate is supposed to be going on summer recess until after Labor Day in a matter of days. And they still have not reached a decision. Now, already Nancy Pelosi has stated that the House is willing to stay until it's resolved. The Senate has not made that, has not made that commitment yet. So there's a possibility that Americans will be hanging on a lifeline until after Labor Day. If they do that, I don't know what the country is going to be.
Let me tell you something. I'll give you an example. Something as simple as my website was down. Somebody hacked into my website. The hosting company, Dream Hosting, took my site down because I guess they were at risk too. Once they go into that, they can go into their stuff too. So they alerted me of the hacker, and then they gave me a long laundry list of things to do to make sure you check these items and these things in place, and it goes back up again. Well, I can't do that. I don't have one of those plug and plays that was on, WordPress. I have a designed platform. So I had to go to my person that did my website and have her do it. She looked at it and charged me $500. So how was I going to get my website back up if I didn't have $500? Now here's the gag. I'm trying to go back to work. I'm trying, because I do my little consulting contracts. I'm being looked at for a contract at a short term, like a little workshop. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'm looking to see if I can get it at Bloomfield College. I had to fill out their form for the purchasing department because they want all vendors on their purchasing list. On that on that form, they want to know your website address. I didn't know my website was down when I sent the application or the form. It all crossed over. While my site was down, the guy at purchasing looked at my form and tried the site. It was down. He emailed me, "Hi, Lisa, we can't complete your form until we have a good website for you. Do you have a good website? Because the one you gave is not working." Luckily for me, I wasn't lying. Luckily for me, I was in the process of getting it fixed. So I wrote him an email and said, "Hey, here's what went on. I'm in the process of getting it fixed. My web developer mother died of COVID. She's coming back this week. It'll be done, and give me a couple of days." He said, "Okay, cool." But that's only because I had $500 to pay her. $499 plus tax, $539. I know the number right now. It was stimulating the economy. So I paid a small business some money. And you know how I got that money? The PPP money. But it doesn't matter. I didn't get them. I think I got $2,000 from PPP. But I got a little PPP money. And then, or people who have unemployment, that little $600 a week, could let them do something like this. Like, this kind of money can help this person pay their small business for other things. So I employed a small business with some of the money that came from different things since the COVID. Mine was from something else. But it's the same thing. So a person who is getting $600 a week times 4 weeks could have fixed their website, could have bought some food, could have, if the tire busted, you could pay $100 for a new tire. You can't do that now. You don't have the money. So it would stimulate the economy. They want the economy to collapse? Girl.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because there is this misconception, or when people, the stories that I've heard about PPP money have all been fraud, these reports of fraud. But that money, most of that PPP money has been, in my opinion, legitimately used. And
they love to have those 1 or 2 black folks that did fraud when the white folks did fraud. Shake Shack did fraud. He stole $10 million. He done said he stole it. He didn't say stole, but she didn't go to jail for it. He gave it back. I'm sorry. Do black people get to say I'm sorry when they steal money and give money back and then just say you're sorry? Mm-hmm. He stole the money. That was fraud. He didn't get locked up because he came out there and did some spin and said, "Oh, I realized the small business didn't get it. I'm going to give it back." But you knew you wanted a small business when you went and got it. You committed fraud, dude.
Including the senators and the House of Reps who got money, who got, SBA loans in the coronavirus, right?
Correct.
So,
and they bailed out Wall Street.
Yes.
Quickly with $1.5 trillion. And I think there was another package too. That was the first one way back in March. They didn't wait. There was no, and see here, I got to go there again. How come when they want to do that, the mostly Democratic Congress didn't fight that? We ain't hear no wars about that.
Or they didn't bring in a bill for student loan relief. They could have done that. They didn't do that about a week or two ago.
So I keep saying every show, I sound like a broken record. Y'all be careful who you vote for, because them Democrats and them Republicans. And Republicans, they're all the same people. Because why didn't y'all fight tooth and nail to stop that $1.5 trillion going to Wall Street back in March? Y'all sound real smooth, because you can't do what the Congress could not, the Senate can't do without the Congress. Y'all, for all we know, it's some kickbacks. I can't tell you what's happening behind the scenes, and the pieces on the chessboard is moving, because I don't have any power to know what's going on, but something's going on that you didn't say a thing about that. See, the reason why you said something about this, because you can't get no kickbacks. You can get kickbacks from Wall Streeters, right? Because they're all in bed with y'all. They're all, we're not in bed with you. If you give me and the average Jane Doe or Joe Blow the $600 a week unemployment, you can't come down here and get money from us. It's really going to our pockets. and to buy food. But if you want to give Wall Street 1.5 trillion, they can break you for peace, and it's all done on the golf course. You understand? Because the number is small. That 1% is maybe 5 or 6 people. The top 1% is not even 10 people in this country that run the country. It's not 10 people. Entities, people, combination of both is not even 10 people, i.e. entities. So y'all could actually meet at a restaurant and eat and make the deals.
Which they probably do.
Well, yeah, the lobbyists, and, whatever. Yeah.
So we are going to end on this.
Yes.
We had a really great discussion. I enjoyed chopping it up with you. I wanted to ask, and I wanted to begin to implement that. What is your next Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies?
Oh, yes.
About?
Okay, thanks. You promotion, cross promotion. Well, I had the bright idea to do this 4-part series. I'm still looking for some white people. Can you please give me some white people that you know? A 4-part series called Call Out Karens. So I did, my first one dropped, White Women Call Out Karens. Did you get that one?
I did. It was good. It's actually on the front page right now for Arc Republic, and
you keep not sending me the link. Okay.
Yes, I am. Yes. Every Thursday, I drop my Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies podcast.
Right, so that's this week. Next week is Black Women Call Out Karens. Whoop, whoop. You was on that. The next week, Black Men Call Out Karens. And the last one, which is hard for me to find, White Men Call Out Karens. I'm trying to cast now. Can you please send me some white men that's liberal that want to talk about calling out Karens? You know some white people?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That want to say like Karens are whack?
Well, you know what? I'll send you a couple of leads and see what they say.
But you have to text first and say, would you be?
Well, yeah, let me ask. Yeah, let me ask and
like a quick text thing, like it's right. Cool. Check this one out because we need allies, and just let them know we need allies. You need to just call out the Karens. You know she's wrong.
Right.
You know Karens are wrong. So I got one guy who's already signed on. He did did you read this article? He wrote an article about the Karens, and his angle is, don't even be nice to Karens, call them Karens. It's too nice. A white man. He wrote an article in Forbes magazine. I hit him up. He said, I'll be on that show. So I got a Forbes dude. I need 4 more dudes.
Okay, 4 more. Okay.
4 more
I have 3 people that I'm going to ask.
Any walk of life.
Yes.
It could be regular dude, professor, candlestick maker, just opinion about Karens. And they have to have a compassion for the harm they cause to Black people. And that's all they got to talk about. They ain't got to be because it's going to be 5 people plus me. So you ain't got to be the biggest talker. Just do you have anything to say about that?
Right.
And they'll be joined by a panel so they won't feel so pressured to be saying, you just have to say something that you feel like saying when you want to say it. And I'll have my questions for them. So if you can pass those along like this week before the weekend's out, I'll hit them up.
Okay.
Those are my next 4 episodes. So I'm going to drop one each week because I think that that's important to cover that spectrum about Karens because Karens have become so egregious. It just came to me. We got to call up these Karens. And it's interesting that every show, every episode, something different is being said. Look, so when you saw the white girls call out Karen, you guys said something a little bit different than what the white girls said.
Yes. It was really good. I mean, it was excellent. And then on top of that, I was just kind of looking at the dynamics and how the dynamics unfolded, right? We both know Jennifer Wager. At some points, I know she was just holding herself in. I know she was.
She did say some crazy shit in the beginning. She was like, well, basically, it's essential. It's basically saying that when these Karens start calling the cops, it's like a drone strike.
It's like a drone strike. Yeah, she dropped it. She dropped it. I mean, it was good.
Craziness. I said, a drone strike. I need you on this panel constantly.
Exactly. Oh.
She did say that. Yeah, so those are the next couple of weeks, yeah.
Okay, so we look forward to that. Lisa, once again, thank you so very much. And I will be checking in with you soon.
Lisa Dutton's checking. Send me the link. You keep forgetting me send me the links lately. Send me the links. I'm too lazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
ARC Republicans, you want to remain connected to the weekly check-ins with Lisa Durden and a plethora of other interviews that we have from experts, community members, activists, politicians, you name it. You can catch it if you subscribe to ARC Republic's YouTube, and as well, go to our website, arcrepublic.com. Membership is gangsta, and we tell stories in order to change the conversation.